Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Resign. Nope. And this is episode 319 of the world famous, the University of Love, the best podcast in 1, 2, 3 galaxies. But ladies and gentlemen, you and I, we just call it Online Marketing Moves. And we're coming to you live today. Today is Sunday, June the 27th, 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing today? Now, today we are going to discuss something very important. First, I want to share a story with you, and then we're going to talk about the subject at hand. And this story has to do with the subject at hand. We're going to talk about being different. We're going to talk about breaking the rules. We're going to talk about not necessarily towing the line. You know what I mean? So, me and my wife yesterday, we had a virtual baby shower. Of course, wife had a couple of her sisters come over, sister-in-laws come over. They helped out. They done a lot. One of my sister-in-laws, they painted a tree in the room in the baby's room. They painted a tree, her and her sister. It's very beautiful, I must say. And it's very nice actually. It's they should be like I was sitting there looking, I'm thinking how, and they were drawing, they were using the chalk and drawing and painting. And I'm like, man, they should get paid for this. I don't know if they get paid or not, but it's like it's very artistic. I wish I could be. I can't draw for anything. Drawing, playing guitars, artistically, I guess my gift is the podcast, I believe. But anyway, so they came over. We had a nice time. Couple more. My wife's friends come over. Well, I consider them friends as well. But Matt and Brian, they're nice. They're engaged, and they're gonna get married. And we was all sitting around having a nice time. And I thought, you know what, this is. Normally you would look at us, you would look at all of us in a circle, and you'd be like, "Who are these people?" But we all are a family. We form a family. We have a nice bond. And my wife, she has friends that she met that my daughter's gonna call aunt, and uncles and all kinds of people. We have a couple cousins that I'm like, they're more than just a cousin. We're gonna bump them up to the to the title of uncle and all this kind of stuff. And it got me to thinking. I said, well, this is not a normal traditional. Like I see some of my family members. They're like, hey, this is your third or fourth cousin. I'm like, man, that's it's way down the line. It sounds, it's not bad, but I mean, it is what it is. But me, I'm just like, my wife tells me all the time. She says, there's a difference in between relatives and family. And I'm like, you know what, sister? You have a point, okay? So there's a difference between relatives and family. Family is family is, hey, I can pick up the phone and call you and you'll come, whatever, you'll help me out, you'll bail me out, all this kind of stuff. Relatives, that's my relative over there. I'm kidding to him, but it's not, it's as personable, it's not as, quaint, It's like last week I called my parents. God bless them. I love my parents to death, but I called them last week and I said, I had something happen and I tried to get home my brother because I needed I needed something real quick. I need something done real quick. And I was telling my mother, said, yeah, I called your child and I said, and I haven't heard. I said, said he's gonna respond back, and I haven't heard from him all day. And she said, well, what do you need? What do you need? Well, what do you need? I'm like, nothing now. I don't need anything. I said, it wasn't important, but at the time, at that moment, I just needed him, and she's like, well, you should have called us. I'm like, well, listen. I said, listen, I call your son, I call my brother in non-emergencies because I know my brother's not good for emergencies. Okay. He's not going to, you know, let's say I need to bond out of jail. I need $150 right then. Boom. And I didn't have any money or something like that. My brother would be one of the last people on this earth I call. I will call you before I call my brother. Okay. And we know each other through the podcast. So there you go. Okay. We are family. Okay. So it's very strange. It's very funny how this works, and it's me and my wife, we have a very non-traditional, like, family atmosphere, like her friends are like, friends, they're my sister-in-laws, they're very important to us. They're more important than some of the family she was born into. And it got me to thinking. And I was like, this is very non-traditional, but it's beautiful. We have a beautiful relationship with all these people, and it got me to thinking. You can break tradition. There's no, that's one of the best things about today. That's one of the best things about the internet. That's one of the best things about living in this world of 2021. You do not have to follow a tradition. There's not a path you have to take. All of us are not going to go to college. Some people are going to go to college. Some people are going to go to college for something, but they're going to even transfer from that, go away from that eventually. And there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, listen, if you find something you're passionate about at an early age and you stick with it and you ride it out forever, then God bless you. That's great. That's wonderful. Nothing wrong with that as well. But if you're somebody who you think, oh man, I'm stuck doing this, I'm stuck doing that, no, you're not stuck doing anything that you don't want to do. You could break from the tradition, and that's one of the greatest things about living in this country, living in countries like here in England and Germany and other places like that. Maybe you start off poor or something like that. Maybe you start off with not a lot of money, but eventually you can change your stars. You can change your life. You can change your future. The trajectory of your family can be changed. You know what I mean? It's like I was talking to my mom on the phone today, and it's so funny. She said, "You remember I had that second job and I used to walk?" My mom, she used to walk. She had two jobs. She worked at two nursing homes, and I remember the second job we lived across the highway from the second job. So, and she didn't have a car. So she would walk through a field. I remember that she used to get off at like 11 o'clock. And on Fridays and Saturdays, sometimes we would walk halfway to meet in the field and we would all walk home together. And it made me think. And my mom was like, "You remember that?" I said, "Yeah, I remember that." And I said, "Those were good times." And she said, "I don't have to do that no more." And I said, "Now you don't gotta do that anymore. You're all pretty well. You're doing very excellent. You moved up." And I'm like, she sort of walked and crawled through a lot to get to the point to raise me. She taught me a lot, and now I'm here and doing this podcast, and it's become successful. And I'm like, you know, my sister-in-law got up. It's so funny. My wife, I love my wife to death, but I always chuckle because I know it's gonna come up because, as I told you before, I just started doing the podcast. I told you, well, if you listened yesterday, you would have heard a throwback from 2019. I tried to do a podcast 2019, but then I was like, nobody's gonna listen. But then I said, July 15, 2020, I said, I don't care who listens, I'm gonna do the podcast every day for the first year. Then we'll reevaluate. So I've been doing it, and I haven't really given a thought to just telling people and discussing things with everybody. And I haven't been like, "Hey, I got a podcast. Hey, listen, I got a podcast." No, I have not said any of that. I just sort of kept my head down and you know kept it moving, and it's not a big deal to me. It's not a big deal. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, and I'm like, it is what it is, and you know, and it's not that I don't want to tell anybody. It's just I'm like, if I start telling people, then I would start questioning myself, having doubts, and so I just kept going, and here we are now. We're at episode 320, 319, something like that, and my wife says, "This guy has a podcast." And they said, "You have a podcast?" And I said, Yes, I have a podcast." They said, "What do you talk about?" I said, "Well, I talk about, entrepreneurship and starting a business online and all that kind of stuff." And they was like, "Wow, what? And you haven't told us?" And she said, "What episode are you on?" I said, "Well, we're on episode 300 and something at the time. I think it was like 18, 17, something like that." And she said, "What? You on episode 318 and you didn't tell us?" And I'm like, no, And my wife said, it's pretty good actually. And they said, we're gonna listen. And they listened, and then they was like, the podcast is great. And I'm like, thank you. And she's like, you should have told us. And I'm like, what are we gonna do? And the point of all that was just to say, you know, you would have told me 5 years ago, hey guy, you're gonna do a podcast and you're gonna get actual people to download and listen to it, and you're gonna step out of your comfort zone, and you're going to break tradition. And I'm like, I would have said, I don't know about all that, but here we are breaking out of tradition. And in the past, people would have said, hey man, you drive a truck, just stick with that. But no, we're trying something new. I'm starting to, matter of fact, today, before I recorded, I went outside, checked my mailbox, and I got a timer. Okay. And now what am I gonna do with this timer? I am going to use this in my office, and we're going to, because I learned this from the great Ben Settle, who learned this from the great Eugene Schwartz, about setting a timer for 33 minutes and just sitting down at your desk and just writing. Because I told you, I'm going to start writing. That's what I want to do. So we're gonna just sit down for 33 minutes at a time, and we're going to write. And first thing I'm probably gonna write is this: I want to write a book, and I have an idea, and I'm going to start writing that. I'm just going to write and write and write, and then we'll figure it out after that. And that's one thing. Another thing that I want you to realize, that you don't have to be perfect when it comes to all this kind of stuff. You can write as much as you want, and then you can go back and edit it, and you can go back and piece it together. It doesn't have to come out perfect the first time. Edit, re-edit, rewrite, rewrite. As long as you get it done, as long as you're satisfied with it, that's all that matters. But there's no such thing anymore as, going the traditional route. You can go the traditional route, but you don't have to. And that's what I'm here to encourage you about. There's no, oh man, I'm stuck at this job. This is it for me. Curtains. This is gonna be the end. Nah. Listen, there's a million ways you can go. There's a million and one ways you can go about making money these days. You know what I mean? There's no. This is one reason why there's not a job shortage, but there's a people of who's wanting to work, because there's so many different ways now that people can make money. And there's people are tired of the traditional way of, hey, clock in, shut up, and get to work. I remember when I was 22, 23, working at a warehouse, and you would go in, and it was miserable. They would just tell you basically, yeah, shut the hell up. This is the pay you're gonna get. If you don't like it, tough. Okay. There was no negotiation. There was no willing and dealing. Even when I first started driving trucks, I would come in every 6 months. I would say, hey man, I need a raise. And they would say, hey, I gave you a raise, my guy. I would have to give everybody a raise. And I'm like, I'm not asking for everybody. I'm asking for me. You know what I mean? And then they was like, yeah, whatever. But now there's so many people quitting in the truck driving world. And, I've been doing this for 15, 16 years, but I'm 42. I'm 42 years old, and I've been doing it for 16 years. And so I'm young, but I'm not young when it comes to truck driving. So they're like, hey man, how are you? Like, the guy I walked in a couple weeks ago, and the manager was like, how are you feeling? I'm like, am I? And he's like, no, how are you feeling? And I'm like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, are you all right, man? He asked me these questions for, the whole time I've been driving, forever. I've been from here to Maine. I've been from here to Maine, from Maine to Montana, Montana to Seattle, Seattle back down to, the bottom of California, Mexicali, California. I've been there, to Miami, all over the place. And all the time, nobody ever asked me, hey guy, how are you doing? And I'm like, what is this? But the traditions of jobs, the tradition of treating people like crap, those are out the window, because they need people. And these people are getting rich these people are making money from TikTok. People are making money from YouTube. People are making money from, driving Lyft. People are door dashing and making money. There's non-traditional ways to make money, and people are like, why should I go back to working at a place, at a business that is going to treat me like garbage when I can go out here and be independent? And that's the same for you. There's so many different ways now that don't think, oh man, if I'm doing things the wrong way. No, there's no wrong way. It's how you do it. There's not a. I remember when you start, like when I started the podcast, I'm like, I need to sound like this. I need to sound like that. No, I'm never gonna sound like this person. I'm never gonna sound like this person. I can only do what I do. And I think what I do is good. So we're gonna keep that going. You know what I mean? I'm unique. So you're unique. So you have to keep that in mind. You have to remember that this is a the days of, hey, I need to listen to I need to go with the formula. It's just like, I remember, you watch, if you ever listen to Howard Stern, he created his own formula, and then you see all these other people. They're like, oh, we need a female to read the news. We need a person to crack jokes. We need this. We need that. It's very formulaic. And now radio is sort of a dying breed because of that. Because they tried to stick with this guy's formula. No, it works for him. He made it work because he's great at what he does. But that doesn't mean that you have to go by the exact formula. It's the same as TV. The news, if you ever watch the news, the first thing they tell you, somebody got shot. First thing, boom. I don't care what day of the week it is. Somebody got shot. Then they tell you about the weather, Oh, and then the worse the weather, worse the weather is, the more they show the weather person. Oh, it's gonna be a blistery day, blah, blah, blah. It's a formula, And so if you, like, let's say you had a news company and you wanted to start doing the news. If your first three pieces was good news, you might break tradition, and you actually might get people that might want to watch the show. You never know. And so there's no right way to do this, to do anything. You know what I mean? These days, the rules are, of course, you want to give people great products. You want to give people great service. You want to give people great content. Some things don't change, but how you do it, why you do it, when you do it, those things are kind of like, I don't have to go to this platform. You don't even have to use, like, if you like, I don't want to be on Facebook. You don't have to be on Facebook. There's other different ways you can go about this nowadays. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to go on there. You don't have to be so formulaic. You can break tradition, because I know a lot of people will tell you, write ads on Facebook, write ads on Facebook, write ads on Facebook. If you want to get known. If you want to get known, you got to be on Facebook. No, you don't have to be. There's different ways you can go about this, Social media doesn't hurt you. Social media helps you, but you don't have to rely on it. You can, if you wanted to start an app and you was like, hey, if you wrote one message on Facebook, hey, go to my app, and people went to your app, then why do you need Facebook? You won't need it after a while. You go write your one message and boom, call it a day. I just talked to my good friend upstairs, my sister-in-law, and she said she just got on social media like 3 or 4 years ago. She said, I thought social media was bad. She was like, I still don't want to post pictures or anything, but I go on there. It's not bad. And I'm like, this is true. So there's no formula. There's no, go to your, do what works for you. Do what's best for you. You know what I mean? Like, break the tradition. Don't be, sometimes being formulaic is being kind of bland, and you don't want to be bland. You don't want to be the same person. You don't want to be a clone of somebody else. That's one of the worst things you can do, is be a clone of everybody else. Hey, why do you want to be a clone when you are who you are? You are who you are. You know what I mean? Like, just be yourself. I'm not saying you have to go 180 and try to be, I'm wacky, I'm zany, woo. Nah, you don't have to be that. But if that's who you are, then be that way. You know what I mean? Like, be yourself. Be free. You're free. You're free to be who you are. You're free to break traditions. I got my wand here. I got my flammable fire wand, and I'm giving you permission to be yourself. I'm giving you permission to break tradition, to break ranks, and I'm giving you permission to go out there, do what you do best, make as much money as you want to, and live your life very prosperous, very happy, and be at peace with yourself. And that's the most important thing. One of the most important things you can do, everybody, is be at peace with yourself. Once you learn to be at peace with yourself, then it is a beautiful thing. I thought about that when I was driving today. I was driving home. I got a brother-in-law. He left his phone at our house. My brother-in-law left his phone at our house, and I had to drive 40 miles to the airport to go drop it off to him, which I didn't mind. It was cool. But on the way home, I was listening to there was a couple songs I listened to. One was, Sheryl Crow. I love Sheryl Crow. And then there was another song that I listened to, and I was like, man, I'm just so at peace right now. I'm so excited to be going back home to my wife. My wife made these delicious homemade biscuits today. Boy, 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 boy. I'll tell you what, those were delicious. All right. But anyway, we had a wonderful breakfast, and now I'm gonna go lay down and do nothing. But ladies and gentlemen, you are free to go. You are free to break tradition. You are free to do what you want to do. There's no formula when it comes to all this stuff. If you want to create content for internet marketing, if you want to create content for sports, if you want to create content for relationships, if you want to be on your YouTube, the Facebooks, all that stuff, do that. Do it, and do it the way you know how to do it. You can only be yourself. Just go out there, be yourself, and you will attract the audience that you are looking for. Have a game plan, write down the audience you're looking for. You will find the audience you're looking for. There are people all the time. There's somebody for everybody, ladies and gentlemen. So always keep that in mind, and don't think that anything's saturated, because you have to think about yourself. Sir, madam, you are the best of the best. And until there might be a crowd of 1,000 affiliate marketers, but you have to look at that. You have to look at that crowd, and you have to say, you know what? Everybody, step aside, step aside. I am the best of the best, and here I am. All right, ladies and gentlemen. With that being said, that's it for the podcast today. We will be back tomorrow with an all new episode of Online Marketing Moves. But until then, my name is Tony Rizzano. Thank you for listening, and as always, everybody, peace.